And we're live on YouTube. Welcome, everyone, to the Coach's Playbook for today, the 20th of October, the year of our Lord, 2020. Dan, the Dancing Bear, JD, how you guys doing?
Good, Jack. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I always feel a lot better on Tuesday mornings than I do on Wednesday mornings. And actually Monday mornings, too. So Tuesday is a big up day for me. Anyway,
I felt like that this morning too. I was a little amped up sitting down this morning. Was feeling lively.
Well, I was on a 7:30 call with the Siberians this morning, and then did a podcast at 9. So I've just been up. I've been globetrotting. I feel good to go. And so since I had such a rambunctious morning, we thought maybe today we could talk about our morning checklist or what we do to get ready for the trading day each day.
Absolutely.
So,
Guys,
Dan?
anyone listening, drop in your comments, questions, thoughts. It's going to be a free-flowing conversation here. First, I do have a couple shout outs. Mick's gone, but I do have shout outs for funded traders. We have Emmett R up almost $4,000 trading NQ and ES. That's awesome. And then Joe S 2,200 in the NASDAQ. So seen some good numbers up.
I want to say the last 3 weeks, all of our funded trader shout outs have been NASDAQ traders. Is that a coincidence?
I don't know. I'm starting to see NASDAQ being one of our more popular products lately.
I've had numerous uncles tell me that computers are the future. So it's not super surprising that NASDAQ is doing so well. I hear that they're technology focused.
Absolutely. Wasn't it Al Gore that said the internet is just a series of tubes and wires connecting people?
Well, little known fact, it was back then. It used to be all tube based. Okay, that's I'll stop there with my conspiracies about the internet. And as long as we're going with tubes and analog stuff, I thought, Dan, you could lead off with your day because I know that you have a pretty old school way of preparing.
I do. Well, first off, we got a lot of hellos in here. So I just want to say hello to everyone. Mr. Shine's Mystery Channel, Felix, Josue. Level 2 says we need Discord. I have a dancing bear gift for JD. Subconscious. You level 2, he's loving that 3450. We've been talking about that one the last 2 weeks or so on the forecast and recap. And Josu, I apologize if I'm saying it wrong. Moneymaker it is. Absolutely. And Jack is firing some shots.
Trying.
Anyhow, my routine, you guys have probably seen it lately throughout the market forecast. I think we're a little frozen on my end. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay. It was frozen on my end. So my morning routine's pretty simple. When it's day trading, I think we have to wear different sorts of hats for everything that we're doing. Number one, if we're day trading, we're not looking back at what happened over the last 3 weeks to determine our overall direction. Yeah, we're doing that. We're getting an idea of that, but that's not going to really be our decision-making for us when we're looking at our 30-minute charts or our hourly charts. We want to kind of take a look at what's been going on the last day and a half or 2 days. So the first thing I'm doing is, number one, looking at the product that I'm going to trade. So if I'm going to trade S&P 500, or in this case, we're talking NASDAQ. If I'm going to trade NASDAQ, the first thing I'm doing is I'm grabbing my card, my simple little card from Lazari Printing in Chicago. I know we've gotten that one asked. And I'm writing down NASDAQ right in the top corner. So I'm just writing NQ, just like that. I write NQ.
It's like one of those
and then I'm writing
shows.
down. Right. Well, I'm trying to make this visual. So I write NASDAQ, then I write down my settlement price right next to it. And so I just write settle next to it. And the first thing I'm looking at is, where is this market in relation to settlement price? Because I want to get that idea, because that's my most profitable trade, is looking for markets to trade to or away from settlement price. That's what I'm always looking for. So what's this market going to have to do to move towards or away from settlement? And that's where I'm starting. If I'm really close to settlement, okay, I can look at this as a possible entry point. If I'm far away from settlement price and the market makes an approach towards it, then I'm looking at settlement price as a sort of target. Then I'm defining a little bit of a range. What's that range, Ben? Whether it's trending sideways, just like this, we're trending higher, we're trending lower, whatever direction it's making. I'm trying to define that channel to keep myself in check, and I'm not trading in the middle of things. I'm looking for those extremes to be checked, whether it's trending or sideways. We always say if we're trending higher, we're looking for those weak points. And that's exactly what I'm trying to define. And then from there, I am just writing out some very basic levels. Overnight high, overnight low, prior day high, prior day low, prior day value area high, prior day value area low, prior day points of control, and any other levels over the last 3 or 4 days that create interest based off of some of the systems I run or unchecked points of control, island bottoms, island tops, things of that nature. And I'm framing it off and I'm just checking them off as we go. And that is my simple day trading prep and routine.
That was pretty thorough. I like that. I like the way you're trying to make it visual too. This is
you like my channel here?
Yeah, we should get one of those. Have you seen those glass boards where they could have a glass in front and then we could draw like beautiful mind style on them?
That'd be great.
We'll have to check the budget and see if we can get some of those. It looks pretty slick. What time do you start, Dan?
Depends on what time I wake up. No. I'm usually up between 5:30 and 6 every morning. Take the dog for a quick walk. Get my coffee going. I usually drink 1 cup of coffee before I even sit down and look at markets. I usually watch something stupid. Then I sit down and look at the markets. I put on the news and then I start my prep. And I usually put in about a half hour to 40 minutes per market that I'm going to focus on trading.
It's good. What about you, JD?
Well, I'm kind of old fashioned like Dan. I'm a pen on paper kind of guy too. Just the way I've always.
Look at these old dudes here. You know?
I got my cardigan on.
That is true. I have the hoodie on because I'm still just young enough I can still do it. I mean, I'm about to turn. Once I turn 34 in a couple of months, I think I gotta hang up the hoodies. But we'll see how fashion dictates that. So JD, you got your legal pad.
Yeah. I start kind of early too. I'm with Dan. I got my start in the bond pit at the Board of Trade. Opening bell was at 7:20. We had to be in the office by 6:15, getting everything together. So I'm just used to getting up early. I start early. As far as the routine or the checklist, since this is a follow-up conversation from a few weeks ago about having a routine, I just want to stress one more time how truly important I feel it is to have a daily routine. This trading checklist should be an integral part, not just of your daily routine, but also like a part of your trading arsenal. When you take all the data that you collect and sort of convert it into rational trading thoughts and ideas, it really helps cut down on the irrational trades that you would make, the emotional based irrational trades. When you can apply, I guess, an objective outlook to the market before you even start trading, you'll eventually find yourself just making better trading decisions.
Yeah, I think it also gets you into the right mindset. Just if you were going to do anything, like I'll use golf an example because I just got my new driver or whatever. If, unless you're just so practiced that you're just perfect, you always want to go to the range for a little bit, stretch out before you start teeing off, right?
Exactly.
Or you don't just start sprinting full speed. And I feel that really having a morning routine is what helps you get into that good trading mindset as opposed to just reacting from the gut. Your gut can be your enemy in this. It really can be. So
100%.
I know I made fun of you guys for writing down stuff on pieces of paper, but yeah, when we were trading, that's what we do too, because we would leave a sheet at night with instructions for our night coverage. And once again, all the numbers would come out 7:30. So I'd probably be there around like 6:45 or whatever else. First thing I'd do, I'd look at whatever I have on from the night before, adjust my P&L monitor to the settles, because then you know how much you're actually making or losing versus what's just paper profits that could get into your mind a little bit. And then decide, because we usually hold positions for longer, if I still like the position. And if I couldn't say emphatically yes, I would, dump some sizable fraction of it before we got to the 7:30 numbers. And so that's kind of how I would kind of start the day. And then from there, I would start looking more at the levels. But I was always focused on the numbers first and foremost.
Oh, yeah. They're very important. I spent a lot of time and money going to these trading seminars and conventions over the years. And over time, I kind of developed a checklist that works for me. I'll share a little piece of it with you right now. Just like Jack was saying, like getting down to the nitty gritty. I always start with the economic calendar. I think that's really important, especially early in the day. What are the expected releases for the day? What time are they coming out? What's the expected consensus? I mentioned this a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the routine. As those announcements are released, just jot down the actual results of them. Was it better or worse than the consensus? How did the market react to it? Eventually, over time, you'll start to get a better feel for what to expect from each of these announcements as they come out.
Yeah, and I would always write big before like unemployment or something like that across a big sheet of paper on the desk and just be like the range, consensus, and then any whisper numbers to where they kind of fell in. If you got your sort of voodoo sources online that you can go check out. And that was great for me because that would totally inform how we traded right after the number. Maybe you want to back off a little bit if it comes way outside that range, even, which is rare because they're pretty good at doing it. But especially now with all the numbers are so goofy from, we're kind of freestyling with all this pandemic stuff. They're still like seasonally adjusting unemployment numbers. Like, I think we got bigger fish to fry, man.
It's funny you bring that up because you think about it. Someone commented recently. I don't know where I heard this. I know it was somewhere. I think it was within our YouTube viewers. I made the comment. I'm like, oh, well, stimulus talks, that's kind of back in. Well, we'll see what happens. Kind of whatever at this point. One says yes, one says no. One says it's going to happen. One says it's going to not. And it flips sides all the time. And someone's like, it's like the trade deal of with U.S.-China trade deal. It was like, oh, talks went well. And that's all we're going to give you at this point.
Yeah. And then then I'll start going into like, once the numbers are out and stuff like that, then I'll spend a little bit more time when the market slows down, kind of digesting all that other news and then looking for more of the levels that Dan was talking about sort of for intraday trades. But
I like to get that kind of stuff out of the way, sort of pre-market. I'll jot down closing prices of the dollar, NASDAQ, Dow, Russell, metals, crude oil, bonds, and notes. I look to see if they were trading higher or lower overnight and maybe see if I could spot a correlation between them in the market I'm trading, which is typically the S&P. E-mini S&P is in market I'm typically trading.
Yeah.
Then I have a separate checklist just for the ES, 3-day high and low. What was the overnight high and low? What was yesterday's high and low? Where was yesterday's close in relation to the high and low? Was it a trend day or was it choppy? Was the volume and open interest? And you just kind of gather all this information and you determine sort of an objective directional bias for the day. And I'm just going to reiterate again the importance of it. If you can turn this into a daily habit, you will eventually be able to better anticipate the trading environment for the day, and you can adjust your strategy around it.
That's great. We got a bunch of questions coming in too. I want to make sure we get to them before we all keep rambling and get too far off topic.
I love rambling.
Felix asking, do you guys ever operate on pre-market or only after equities open at 8:30? JD?
I'll do either. It all depends on the opportunity that I see. So I don't mind.
Same.
I don't mind putting something on right at 5:30. As soon as the market reopens, I might put something on. I might wait till 10 o'clock the next morning before I make my first move. It all depends on what the market's telling me.
Yeah, I traded bonds, so it was always quicker earlier. The equity open wasn't really a big deal because all the numbers that affected it, the futures for bonds come out at 7:30 Chicago time. So we were usually slowing down by the time of the equity open.
Mm-hmm. And I know
that's when we were ordering Pat's pizzas by the time equities opened to have them delivered for breakfast.
Or if it was a bad unemployment, I was already blown out in that series for the day. So, it happens.
Yeah. Like I was saying, I know there are those fears out there.
A couple other questions coming in here. Where'd they go? Here we go. Asking about the channels that I was talking about to use an indicator and on which time frame chart are you looking at. So I use, I don't use a specific indicator for the channels, but one way to start to notice them is using VWAP with a deviation to the high and low side. Kind of helps define that channel a little bit. I've talked about that here before, and I do it anywhere from a 30-minute to an hourly chart to kind of define that channel for myself. Subconscious, do you take pre-market trade before the 8:30 a.m. open if there's a setup that is well aligned with your strategy and trading plan. I think we all answer that one. Absolutely. We do definitely trade. Definitely do trade those. And then
that VWAP.
Go ahead, Jack.
VWAP's a good one to look at because I haven't worked at a bank or trading shop recently, but with a lot of the order flow stuff, I mean, the reason VWAP's kind of a thing is because they kind of measure traders based on how they perform versus VWAP. So it kind of can act like a magnet. If it's too far below it, then people kind of want to get their stuff bought. Too far above, people kind of want to sell it. So that's one that I like having on there.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then the last question we got here, level 2, is going to be, in all seriousness, how do you deal with the job owning in the last 3 months? I assume you're talking about just kind of the political stuff there. The Fed, a little bit of everything. I mean, for me, I try and just, I try and take in what's happening, and when like something being said is affecting the market, it's sit on the hands, and because we can't determine anything there. But if it's, wait and see what that market's telling me. You know, the market's going to be the true decider in all of this, not us, not what anyone actually says. And if we read what that market's telling us, let the things go crazy, let the market react the way it wants to. Once it calms down, that's when we're here to trade. We're not here to trade these insane, huge, fast swings and the massive breakouts. Like, those are tough and they're not always going to be fruitful. But if we trade those calmer periods, that's when we're going to fight. I think we find success. And that's when I focus on those calmer periods.
Yeah, you're probably going to be at an information disadvantage too. I mean, the news can be very counterintuitive. I think that it's rare anymore that we get news that's 100% going to be bad or good for something. I go back to 10 years ago before this pandemic, however long this year's been. And there was that incident where, who was it, like, Iran droned an oil facility in Saudi Arabia. Like, yeah, that's going to make oil prices go up a bunch. But then there'll be other things, like Dan and I were talking like last week when there was the couple stage 3 vaccine trials that they ended. And I thought stocks were going to get walloped on it. But they shrug the jaw.
They're numb. They're numb now.
Everyone's just kind of, my thought has not changed much. I think we're going to be pretty range bound. I thought we were going to sell off more on the lack of a stimulus package, but now people have kind of realized that it's going to come at some point. And I think we're in a range pending what happens in 2 weeks from today with the election in the US. And then we'll see some more positioning there. Yeah, but the equities in general seem numb to everything. Bad news, good news, just news.
Yeah. Right. I also avoid leaving resting orders in now too. It's not like the old days where you just stack your dome and hope to be first in and, scalp a couple ticks. Like, those days are long gone. But even just now, having a couple offers resting up top at some level that you're confident in, a rogue headline could just burn right through you. So I don't even do that anymore.
Right. And also,
news to come out and I work around it. I
know it's way too micro that we won't affect it, but there's something, if you're leaving a lot of stops in general, you're not the only one with that information. So much of what some of the professional firms are doing is stop hunting. When you see these like choppy markets and stuff like that, they have information from various platforms.
Yeah. Predator algos are real.
Yeah, they certainly are. Nasty bit of business that is. Any other questions, Dan? Or
yeah, how important is the 240-minute chart to you, Dan?
What is the 240-minute chart?
Yeah, it's a 4-hour.
Oh, okay.
I don't look at that chart so much in a day trading stance. Like, I'm looking at it to help kind of define a couple things for me, to get ideas. And I keep it up in the corner. I'm always watching it, but I'm not actively engaging with it unless I'm looking to carry stuff for a few days. It's a very rare that I execute based off of that chart. That chart's going to help me kind of understand where acceptance is. So if I'm looking for a price to accept below or above a level, I'm looking at the 4 hour. That to me is where I'm looking for acceptance. That's about the majority of it there for me.
Nice.
And one thing I do want to just add with this whole concept of routine, if John mentioned having that bias, I'm looking at those channels, same kind of stuff. We're getting an idea of market direction. If it deviates from that, completely stop everything you're doing, step back and reassess, readjust, restart that prep over to get an idea on how to go about that.
I would even take that a step further and say, have a plan in case you're right and a plan in case you're wrong before you even get in.
Yeah. Sometimes that plan, if you're wrong, is more important in the long run.
Yeah. One last question, guys. JD, we'll throw it to you. Do you use the dome to place orders or only levels and points of reaction?
So I place all my orders on the dome. I don't chart trade, which I know is available on a lot of trading platforms now. But I will wait for a setup to come to me and I will execute when I see it.
I think the biggest advantage that a human trader could have these days comes from being able to read order flow.
Yes.
So I would never place a trade on the chart. I would always be looking in the dome to do it.
That's a great point.
Same here. Sweet. Those are looks like everything so far.
Well, lovely. That puts us at about time here. So we'll hope you guys can take a few pointers from our old school approach to setting up for the day. You can do a 3x5 card like Dan, a legal sheet. You could be cutting edge and put it in the notes of your iPhone or whatever. Doesn't matter to me. Just do it. Yeah. Anyone else have anything to say, or do you want to leave it here? You got a fancy quote for us, Dan?
I'm good.
Well,
I got a simple quote for us today.
All right, let's hear it.
Oh, sorry. I got a delay on my internet. It keeps skipping on me. I apologize, guys. But I got a quote from Zach Frazier. It says, "The key to success is consistency."
Wise words.
Yeah, I'd say consistency is the key to success too. It's a little snake eating its tail. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. We'll be back next week. I know Hogue will be doing some market therapy tomorrow, hopefully, or we'll have someone in there with Dr. Menaker. And besides that, check out the recap, the forecast, and we'll see you soon. Stay safe. Have a lovely, what day is it? Tuesday. All right.